Now I'm very excited to welcome back the one-of-a-kind Mr. Mike North from the Odds Couple on ESPN 1000. You can follow Mike on Twitter at North2 North. Mike, 'tis the season to be married, my friend. How did Christmas treat you?
Christmas treated me good, my friend. I'll tell you what, everything's good. The Odds Couple, our show, doing well. I'm having a winning year. Our team, Carmen DeFalco and myself, our guys, we're all having a winning team. And then my stuff at the bar room, same way. And, I'm even doing okay in a media pool, which I never usually do, but I'm above 500 there, which means I'm doing good. So, you know what? It's been fun handicapping. I love handicapping as you do. And it's basically I get up every day. I've been doing it since I was 14 and gambling. So I'm ready to go. I got some action on this college game that we've got going right now already. I got Virginia Tech. We'll see what happens. Neither team really is impressive. We were talking earlier about how a lot of this stuff is background noise. What I do with a lot of these games is I'll bet them and I'll watch them. But if something else comes up, I'll go do it and then I'll come back to it. It's not like, you're missing the Super Bowl or something, or you're stepping away from a playoff game. You're missing a 6-6 team usually this early, playing a 7-5 game, which has been the case the last couple of days. But it's good to see you, buddy.
No, great to see you, man.
Yeah.
Mike, I've ranted Raven many times how long I've listened to you in Chicago, man. One of my favorite DJs ever, and so
Thanks.
love having you back on.
Thank you, buddy.
It's great because now we're getting to New Year's. We're already starting to think a little bit about baseball here, kind of here and there here. The Cubs haven't really made many moves here. Are they going to make a move soon?
Well, they better. Otherwise, they shouldn't have gotten a manager for $8 million a year. I mean,
Okay.
Bellinger, if you don't bring Bellinger back, I mean, you got a problem. Bellinger is the first player in Chicago since 1972 that I saw carry a club for an extended period of time. The other guy was Dick Allen. When he won MVP in 1972, he carried the White Sox, almost single-handedly carried them to the American League pennant. Bellinger was that type of player. If they don't sign him, we lost Candelaria at third base. I'm just wondering what the purpose was to give a guy $8 million who maybe the week in Milwaukee, but you know what? Milwaukee, if you don't sign Bellinger, will still have a better club. So I'm anxious to see what transpires. I think what Jed Hoyer's got to do, Kiev, is overpay. Okay? Tom Ricketts, sorry. Okay? You might have to overpay. That's what you got to do sometimes. You're a billionaire. I don't feel sorry for you. But if you don't have Bellinger, I'm here to tell everybody right now, it'll be they didn't win it this year. And they had a hell of a year out of him. So, you know what? Their chances of winning next year or this coming year would be nil, in my opinion, without that type of, figurehead out there. He could play center, he could play right, he could play left, he can DH, and he can play first. It's not like you're getting a guy that plays one position.
Oh, 100%. I want Bellinger on the team. I think he's a great kid. He's from here, down in Chandler, Arizona. Been following his career for a while. He had a couple rough years because of, injuries and a few other things. But you know what? He fixed that swing. He's looking great. And yeah, I agree. I think at this point, especially with Boris over there, there is nobody else to get. You didn't want to pay.
You got to overpay.
Obviously. Yeah, everyone's overpaying though.
Yeah,
that's what's going on. It's not like this is an abnormal thing. I want Bellinger back. We lost Candyman. Get a couple pitchers.
Yep.
Bellinger, one or two other, I guess, very flexible type people that can move to different rotations, different positions. That would be wonderful. But the Cubs had the offense to do it last year with Bellinger. They just need to get a little pitching. I think they can be contenders next year.
I'm with you. You got to get him. The club automatically comes into spring training if you don't get him in a down type of mood.
100%. What about the Sox? What are they doing next year?
Well, they picked up a guy, Paul DeJong. Somebody said Paul DeJong's coming to Chicago. I go, is he a violinist? I had no idea who the heck the guy was.
I remember him. He was on the Cardinals for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was on the Cardinals, but really, I didn't have any, when you bring up Mike Trout, you know who Mike Trout is. When you bring up a Reese Hoskins, even who they're talking about bringing in maybe to the Cubs, you know who he is. Paul DeJong escaped me. I know he played for the Cardinals. But here's what he'll bring you. He can pick up the baseball. Tim Anderson could not pick up the baseball on a regular basis. I'm talking routine grounders. He was lost the last couple of years. He had some off-field personal issues. And if your shortstop can't pick up the baseball in the game of Major League Baseball or even in softball, for God's sake, and you play in an amateur league, you're not winning. Your shortstop's got to be able to field. He couldn't field. He lost his bat. He had been a batting champ, the quietest one of all time. Nobody even knew about it. Taking nothing away from him. But that was addition by subtraction to get rid of him. Sox are a soft team, or they've been portrayed as a soft team. They portrayed themselves as that. I'm not a fan of their manager. I think they basically are famous for hiring guys like Terry Bevington, Robin Ventura, Jerry Manuel. These are guys that get one maybe shot afterwards if they're lucky. Once you manage and you look bad in a White Sox uniform, like Ventura, Bevington, guys like that, it's very hard to ever see them managing anywhere else. So he's one of these guys. I think he was in the Royals organization as the bench coach, and they didn't even interview him. They just let him go to the White Sox, and the White Sox took him from a rival, and they didn't want him. The Royals didn't want him, but we took him. So there's just a situation there. Like, if your current employer don't even want to interview you or isn't interested, then why are you looking at them?
Exactly. Yeah, that is interesting. And that's kind of like what we've been used to over the years, I feel.
Yes, right.
It just doesn't change. But yeah, I'm as a Cubs fan, I'm concerned. I think I think a lot of people are just getting antsy, and hopefully they're doing the right thing over there. I think Jed will.
He will.
But I will be very upset at this, like you, and you'll be the first person I'm listening to when it doesn't happen. I will be tuning into you.
That's a deal.
You tell it like it is, and that's awesome. All right, well, we'll talk a little baseball. Let's talk a little bit about college playoffs before we get into the NFL. We had the better bowls finally kind of showing up here, as you mentioned. You're seeing a lot of 6-6, 7-5 type teams. You have any? You can even talk about today, tomorrow, this weekend, or the playoffs. Do you have any plays that you'd like to give out here?
I'll give out one play right now. As far as tonight is concerned,
last Monday,
who's Oklahoma State playing tonight? Whoever they're playing, Texas A&M.
Texas
plus
A&M.
3. First of all, these bowl games are tricky because a lot of guys aren't playing. But I'm leaning, and from what my research has given me, I mean, I looked at Texas A&M. They've been a mess since Jimbo Fisher. They haven't lived up to expectations. Fisher's going to still be paid like $70 million. He's gone. I couldn't believe it. My stuff that I come up with gave me Texas A&M. So reluctantly, I mean, I'm as afraid to take this pick as anybody else is. Reluctantly, I'm taking Texas A&M as my pick tonight.
Well, it went to 3.5, so it's not a bad. I mean, they're close to home. They're 80 miles from home here. They're in Houston, And
listen, I got my ass kicked in front of my house once. You know what I mean? So the guy goes, "You want to fight?" I go, "Yeah, I'm in front of my house." He goes, "I'm close to home. I got a better chance." No, I didn't have a better chance. I still got my ass kicked. Okay, so I never really buy that nonsense. If we're talking about the home field advantage and stuff, but I know it helps to have your fans with you, and they'll travel well.
100%. And what's interesting is that these spreads have moved, big time.
Oh yeah.
There was a point where Oklahoma State was a dog, and that's when I was on them. But now I'm kind of leaning Texas A&M. I'm probably going to buy back and shoot for a 3-point middle, my friend.
How about Kansas yesterday? How about Kansas? They were 13. They went down to. I got them at 8. Okay.
I got him at 7. I paid a little extra juice for the 7, but I knew that Bean was playing. I was like, you know what? They say he's got the flu, but I'm watching his warm-ups. He's running at full speed. He's looking good. And he's probably had the flu for 3 or 4 days. So he's at the end of it. So I'm like, this could be just a massive overreaction. It turns out it was. They won by 13.
Right. It was a nice pickup. And you got to pay attention now because of the transfer portal, which I knew would be a mess. Paying these guys, I knew would be a mess. You got one guy driving a Cadillac. The other guy gets a gift certificate to Jersey Mike's. They're on the same team. How is that fair? You know what I mean? I heard guys like Jay Billis telling me it would be good they got paid. Well, if it's all uniform. But
well, that's what I was for. I was for money, like to pay the kids for their services, like you do working at the ice cream shop in college.
I knew it wasn't going to be that way. And Jay Billis, he's made millions. He didn't have to get paid at Duke. He was networking. He played on good teams. So it's easy for him to say play everybody else. It's a mess now. They ruined it. It's chaos. And because of guys like him on the media pushing it, okay. I mean, my God, Sanders' kid drives a Rolls Royce, and his lineman, they get free free meals at the sub shop. It's ridiculous.
That's bad when you're losing, man. That is not a good look. I understand what you're saying. I think they.
And no, how about this? Arch Manning is going to make more money at Texas than Purdy makes.
Yeah, probably. Oh, for sure.
Oh, he is.
Definitely.
He made $2 million this year. $2 million. Yeah. Purdy makes $900,000.
And he didn't even play. He played like 5 snaps.
But this is good for the system. Really, this is blue chips just exposed. You couldn't even make blue chips now. Happy would be just the guy that gives you the tractor, and it's okay. You know what I mean?
I'm just hoping it separates some of the talent out, because some school is going to have enough money to take someone from Alabama, but that's the only guy they're going to pay. But, I think that was happening beforehand, but just a lot more hush-hush, as we all know.
Those schools like Clemson, folks, I'm having a hot show so far. Stay with me here. I'm really on my game. I can feel in my hair. I don't know. Early Whitey Bulger like today. Anyway, Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. They don't need it. They don't need that crap, nil and all that other stuff. You won't see them rating other people. The kids come to them automatically. Okay. I think the schools that I know of, the school, basketball, women's basketball, that had 20,000 set aside for it, and another school swooped in for 200 grand. They just lost them. But it was a Catholic institution against a major state institution somewhere else. Period.
Yeah, that's going to change. Yeah, absolutely. That is exactly where it's at. So, I mean, well, let's talk about big names. It looks like Ohio State's back up to 3 here in some books now. It looks like Marvin Harrison will sit out, but looks like Emeka Ibuka is going to stay. Looks like a lot of defense is going to stay for Ohio State. I think that's interesting that it went back to 3. I was actually leaning Ohio State a little, but it's kind of going back out of my price range a little bit. Now it might shift to Missouri. I just found that interesting. I knew one thing about Ohio State is they
why don't
motivated.
You just admit it's a mess. You don't know who to bet. You know who's playing. You don't know where it's at. The bowl games now are not like the bowl games we remember we grew up with, for instance, where there were 6 bowl games. Guys were there for 4 years. Now you look for your quarterback, you go, where is he? He's over there on the other team. Oh, sorry, he was here last year.
You are right.
It's a mess.
It is a mess. It's a 100% mess.
Yep.
And you just have to kind of try to get the information first.
Right.
And, you get on the right side of the line moves, you can have an opportunity to buy back, because you're still, even if you have line value, you still get your ass kicked. It's happened to me already a couple times. It don't matter. Try to balance and go for a middle. I got the over today in West Virginia, North Carolina. It's now up to 61. After this show, I'm going to fire back on the under. I'm going to try for a middle, because I honestly have no freaking clue what's going to happen. I'm going to go for a middle. I'm hedging my exposure. Why not? Because I lose just the juice either way, or gain both bets. So that's what we're looking for in this situation. Who wins the playoffs?
Well, I'm not really into it, because my team, Florida State's not in it. And I don't care who. If you never competed for anything in your life, okay, then you can have the outlook that, if they lose a player, even the quarterback, you can't put them in. But for Kirk Herbstreit and some of these other guys that are working it's just despicable. He's one of my sourdough boys of the year. Kirk Herbstreit just turned his back on anything that's halfway decent in competitive sports.
But he's done that for a few years now. There's times that Ohio State was screwed and he had to shut his mouth because the networks were making him. That happens every day in the NFL.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let's say the playoffs are seeded. All right. Let's say San Francisco's the number 1 seed. okay, in pro football, okay, in the NFC, even though, they lost the other night, but they're still a great team,
Mhm.
in my opinion. But let's say Purdy gets hurt. Should they lose their seeding?
Heck no, of course not. They shouldn't.
That's what Kirk Herbstreit's trying to sell on America and all these other talking heads, that you can lose a player and screw the 100 other guys and coaches.
Yet when Ohio State lost their quarterback, they got to play in the
Absolutely.
championship because of the money.
He's
And Baylor didn't get it in 2014.
They're all hypocrites. And here's the other thing. If it was about the quarterback, then everybody should have said, when he got hurt, we're dropping him to 5 now. We're dropping Florida State to, don't keep them at 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when they win them out with the second and third string quarterback, say, you know what? You're not good enough. It's bad news. It sucks. I heard most of the players aren't playing. Half of the players have, opted out or not playing. I heard Georgia doesn't even feel like playing.
Florida State shouldn't even play this game. And
I agree.
And the ACC cowered like a bunch of and that's why Florida State should be leaving it. I'm happy because the ACC is in bed too with everybody. And they just allowed this to happen. I'm like, I'm out of here. And Clemson's going to follow them too because of this debacle. They should have declared Florida State the national champion.
And I know Jim Phillips. I know Jim Phillips. He was at Northwestern. He's the commissioner. I'm sorry for you, Jimmy. I really am. You should have stepped up a little harder, not just issue a note. He issued a letter, right? That's it, right? Am I right or wrong? He didn't
He cowered like he was in bed with the rest of the guys. And, and that's going to kill the ACC. Just like the Pac-12 went down, they're going down too. Clemson's going to be gone. Florida State's
So I'm going to root for Michigan. Alabama, it's always been fixed for them. I've said it for 20 years. It was substantiated because I think even on a neutral field, they're saying Georgia would still be favored again. They're saying Oregon would still be favored against Washington. So let me ask you this. You want it now? Would you rather have it as it is now? Or would it be bad? When you can say, I'd keep Michigan, I'd take Oregon, Georgia, and Florida State. The ones that, that's as attractive as what's out there now. Texas and Washington.
They make their own rules. My power ratings have it Michigan, Ohio State, Texas, and Georgia. I don't even I have Oregon right under them, and then Bama under them, and then Washington's right, there too.
So now they're going to go to 12, which is what I said 10 years ago. I go to 8, go to 12, and we'll be crying next year that Liberty's not in at 13. It's always going to be somebody's up. But at least we got.
Well, we do that for the NCAA tournament now, Mike. But here's the thing: as much as at least when we're crying now, you're not leaving out an undefeated Florida State. If you're crying about 12 and 13, it's not as nearly as egregious as what.
Let me give you this one. You got a team that's 11-1. Okay, no, you got a team that's 10-2, but in a weaker conference. But they take 4 SEC teams out of the 12. Everybody acts like the top 5, the 5 power conferences aren't going to have more than one.
Yeah,
Here's where they're going to start bullying again. Yeah. We're going to have 3 Big Ten teams. We're going to have 4, three SEC teams. Then we're going to have a small conference team, and then we're going to put one in from the. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to just be one SEC team, and that I can promise you that. I can promise you that.
No, that's guaranteed. I mean, that is 100% guaranteed.
But at least we'll have the undefeateds in there.
Yes.
First of all,
it should have been done like this a long time ago, Mike.
Should have been done this year to put the 13-0 team in.
I said make the 4 and 5 play for it. I said add an extra playoff game or something because I'm sure that's what they would want. And you know what? That backup quarterback could have been trained by Norvell into being a pretty good guy. You don't know that. Their defense was fantastic. But now they're all sitting out, which is the worst case scenario. Now they're going to get whipped, and they're going to say, see, I told you so, even though they're not even playing the starter.
That will never know because everybody knows, I think, that Florida State and Georgia even are not invested in this game.
To be honest with you, Georgia's more invested because they have much less sitting out as of right now. We'll see.
But happens. You got it. But their whole life is getting to the top 4. What I mean about they're the accordion player that comes out before Elvis. That's what they are. And they're not used to that. So if you're those players, of course you're going to play your hardest and try to play your best. But in the back of your mind, you're going, we should be playing. We won
Oh, I feel
29 out of.
Oregon feels the same way too. They're probably not. They're not happy. What a terrible bowl game, Liberty versus Oregon, and it's down here in Phoenix. It's like, first of all, Liberty played nobody, and yes, they're 12-0, and sure, I'd be okay with them throwing into an undefeated 12-team playoff, but that doesn't mean it's good for Oregon. You know,
Right.
it's like seriously, Liberty. It's like in the Fiesta Bowl, a 17-point favorite in the Fiesta Bowl. When
You froze up, kid. My guy froze. Hello?
and here's and hopefully it comes back. But
Here
in the
it is.
meantime, here we are. Mike's back. Let's talk a little Bears real quick. Let's assume that they do get the first pick, right? Because of Carolina. Let's assume it right now. I know we all know what Mike thinks that Justin Fields a million times, not the man. But what do you think they should do as of right now with the number one pick?
Well, I've changed my opinion on the Justin Fields thing because I don't want any of the quarterbacks from the Pac-12. I don't care how good they look. USC quarterbacks always look good until they actually have to play in the NFL. Then they don't. Okay? I can name you quarterback after quarterback. Matt Leinart, Pat Hayden,
Matt Barkley,
Sean Salisbury, who I like, Matt Barkley, who I like. These guys, they go. Carson Palmer's their strongest guy, but guess what? He was at Cincinnati. He did okay. Then he got injured, and Joe Burrow made everybody forget about him in about 2 years. So, and then they're all three transferees. One came from the SEC, one came from the Big Ten, and one came from the Big 12. They went to play ping pong football at the Pac-12, which is wide open football. Right. Well, that's the same thing as Justin Fields is. I don't want to start over, so I'm going to stay with Fields for another year. I sort of like them to take Marvin Harrison at 1, build their line 2, 3, 4. You know, grab as many big boys as you can, and then with the 5th, I want Hartman from Notre Dame, the kid that played at Wake Forest. I would draft him in the 5th round. He threw 28 touchdowns, 4 or 5 interceptions. Had a pretty good year for Notre Dame. And at that price right now, he's rated to go around the 4th or 5th round. I think he's a hell of a pickup at that round. At that price.
You know what, Mike? You must be a very smart man because you thought just like me.
Oh boy, I knew that.
But man, I just had conversations with my dad, who's a big Bears fan, and other Bears fans. Right now, I'm normally that guy that says, do not draft a receiver in the first round. Do not draft a receiver.
Oh, no, me too.
I think Marvin Harrison, I've watched him. He's a transgenerational kind of guy.
Sure he is.
Now, if we could trade down 2 spots and you can guarantee me the Cardinals aren't picking him, that'd be perfect. But to be honest with you, I would not be upset if they went with Marvin Harrison with the first pick.
I want him. And I was against when Detroit used to draft receivers all the time, Matt Millen stuff. I said I was against it. We're talking about one guy that's a difference maker. Then you grab the.
He's a great kid. He's a great kid. He's. I mean, the things he says, everything he says, everything right. His dad was always that not over emotional kind of guy. He wasn't a big partier. He was just.
I was surprised when he got in trouble with the gun with Marvin Harrison Sr. I was surprised.
Yeah.
When that happened, that was. I don't know what happened there. He's only been in trouble one time in his whole life. But now you're right. His kid doesn't have to pay the price for that. His kid's a generational talent. And I like Hartman out of Notre Dame, who played at Wake Forest and then comes to Notre Dame, played 2 different systems, knows how to play the position. Probably, we have a guy, Bajan, that knows how to play the position better than Fields. Fields is a guy we traded up for that basically has no clue about playing the position. I'll give you an example. I talked to a former Bear, defensive player. I know 50, 60 former Bears folks, so don't try to trace me down.
Yeah.
He told me, don't bring up my name. But he goes, as a defensive player, the great ones come up to the line and they look and they know the weakness right away of the defense. They know what they're going to call. He goes, trust me when I say this. We know the imposters. Fields comes up, does this. Only because he's seen it on TV. He doesn't know what he's looking for. He doesn't know. In other words, they confuse him. He doesn't outdo them. He'll go back, and Justin, and I want him back next year because he does make some big plays. Last week, he must have had 15 plays where he had the ball for 5 seconds, just running around back there. Never 1, 2, 3 throw. 1, 2, 3 throw. You don't see that. So
I think a lot of that's coaching too, and I think Getsy is awful. He doesn't know how to win a game. He purposely calls plays almost to lose the game. You're like, wait a minute, you're up by 10 and you're having Fields throw the ball with 6 minutes left. He does the incomplete, stop the clock. 12-yard sack. Punt. You just gave them all the time. It's almost comical watching Getsy call plays, but the fact that Flus doesn't stop this makes me know he's an idiot.
Well,
you know,
I was going to say,
and then they don't cover a Njoku. It's like the guy that's been killing you all game. You don't cover him at the end. Instead of you try to do some blitz that didn't work and Cleveland scores.
but
I think you have to clear that out. If you're staying with Fields, you have to clear that out. But I'm with you. I say get a quarterback in the 3rd or 4th round.
Yep.
Now it's okay to draft a Pac-12 quarterback if it's late, in my opinion, because they're all work in progress. If they're all work in progress, Sam Hartman, who knows? Maybe he's good too.
I'm just saying he's going 4th or 5th round. Mr. Irrelevant went last. Brady, I'm not saying he's any of those, but what I'm saying is you can get some value. My point is about Fields. If you start 2 weeks ago, there was a tight end wide open, and he dropped the ball. Tunyon dropped the ball in his hands, and he would have been in for a touchdown.
Yeah, it would have made Fields look a lot better if that happened.
Everybody says, hey, what's everybody going to do? Blame Fields? And I said, what's everybody going to do? Blame Getsy? Who called the play? That's a bunch of crap. I'm tired of the coaches taking the blame because the players can't execute. I think Getsy, I'm watching Joe Flacco come out of Walmart and now play Justin Fields every game of the year if you want. You got to know how to play the position. They took a guy and moved up. I don't bring him up because I'm disgusted with Mitch Trubisky too. He lost his heart. They screwed him. They tore his heart out. Then they tore it out in Pittsburgh. He's lost all his confidence, okay? He's still hands and tails a better passer than Fields. And that's the scary part. Fields can't progress, and he's getting better. But there's too many times where the line, have you been watching? He's back there for 4 or 5 seconds. What are you looking at?
It's been like that for a while. And he makes a lot of plays on his feet, and that's his only saving grace right now. He's got to learn how to throw the seam routes. He's got to learn how to throw guys open.
But do you trade up for a guy that's got to learn in his 4th season? I heard Mitch was a piece of crap because we drafted him ahead of, by the way, Patrick Mahomes. Matt Nagy's career is on a downturn right now. I don't know what's going on, but he just, between Trubisky, Fields, and now he goes over and Mahomes can't score an offensive touchdown. There's all sorts of issues there. That's hilarious.
I think that's just, if we want to go deep in the problem, it's whoever the McCaskey's hired to make decisions is always an idiot. So it never works out. But anyways, we got a lot of games to talk about, my man. We can sit here and talk about the Bears and what they should do for 5 days.
If the Bears win again, you can't get rid of the coaches. You can't start winning games and go, we're getting rid of you, but we're going to keep the quarterback that doesn't know how to play the position. They
also still have a lot of talent now.
They're going to be fine. I think they're having a good second half, man. They might get the total of 7.5.
All right. Well, that's where I disagree. I say get rid of the coaches. Get rid of the coaches immediately. Get Johnson. Get him or pay him whatever.
So you're going to bring in the 3rd offensive coordinator in 3 years for Fields, and by the way, can I tell you something? You brought up Ben Johnson. Eberflus pantsed him in the last game, made him look silly. Dominated Detroit in the second half, made him look silly, and set the blueprint for Detroit the next week too to lose. I was big on.
Yeah, well, Detroit won the division already with 2 games left to play. So the Bears pantsed them. The
Bears should have beat them twice. That was
they came back. Yeah, because Eberflus blew it. He got pantsed the first game by Johnson, and in a bad spot. Goff had a bad game.
I know a guy that loves Ben Johnson. He was embarrassed with what Eberflus did to him. Carmen DeFalco.
He should be embarrassed, but the bottom line is he's won a ton of games this year, and everyone had no belief in Goff when they traded.
I agree.
And now look what he is. And I think that's something you have to.
I want Jim Harbaugh. I don't want no offensive.
I do too, but Kevin Warren's a terrible president and they don't get along. So I'm afraid about that. Kevin Warren is just another McCaskey screw up, in my opinion. And it's going to come back to bite us.
I agree.
Jets, Browns, my friend, Thursday night. It's funny. About a month ago, you'd be less excited for this game. It's still a low total of 35. But, it is interesting to see what Flacco's been doing. And I thought him beating the Bears was more also about the Bears just choking. But at the same time, this is 7.5 points. Total is 35. The Browns, basically a playoff team now. A lot of people are talking like Stefanski should be coach of the year. I don't know about that. That's a little far for me. I think that Flacco's just a very smart guy, and he's blown games before, but he's playing with the best defense, maybe number 1 or 2 at least behind the Ravens in the whole league.
He threw 3 touchdowns. No linebacker threw 3 touchdowns last week. It was Joe Flacco. Kiev. Just wanted to give you a heads up. I watched that game. I bet the Texans. Flacco was unbelievable.
I had the Texans in a teaser that I lost.
Amari Cooper ran 250 yards catching the ball, and Cooper loves them. I mean,
they're rejuvenated.
And by the way, Stefanski has had 4 quarterbacks and lost Nick Chubb, and they bring in Joe Flacco, who's at Walmart. He should get some consideration.
It's still a bad spot for the Browns. I'm not saying I'm going to bet the Jets. I would consider it now. That's past the 7. It's juiced at -118 here on DraftKings. But I think the Browns is a perfect teaser spot, so I'm teasing them down to 1. And I'm going to find you a dance partner here in a few minutes. But I just think that this is a good teaser for me because I still think they beat the Jets. Yeah. Anything from you on this one?
No. But I tell you what, Cleveland is on a roll. And you know what? I know that the people want Hamlin or I think Mayfield or Flacco should be your comeback player of the year. I mean, Hamlin hasn't played, and it's hard to give a guy.
That would be awful if you gave it to Hamlin. A comeback player should not be a guy. There should be a different award for something like that. Yeah, sure, he died. That was freaking amazing. I still think about it. Great job, but that doesn't make you a comeback player of the year. It's like, why don't you just give him a Super Bowl ring? I mean, if you're going to make idea, Hamlin did something amazing by just coming back to life. That's a bigger award than comeback player.
First of all, Hamlin didn't do anything.
You have to at least have a good season.
My father had 3 heart attacks. He was an electrician. Okay, one of them he had when he was sleeping. Okay, but and the other 2 he had one at work and he had one while he was bowling. He survived them all. But I'm trying to figure out. I asked them, when did the ambulance come? They said, well, it came in about 10 minutes. How many people have heart attacks and have 7, 8 ETMs waiting on them within 30 seconds? I mean, I know they brought him back to life, supposedly. He had a heart attack. Okay. But how many people have lost people to heart attacks because they couldn't get an ambulance or because it took time for people to get here? So now I'm supposed to think that Hamlin deserves comeback player of the year when he had the best possible scenario. If you're going to have a heart attack, have it where it's on national TV with a cart and ambulance and 8 ETMs. In the meantime, Joe Flacco's at Walmart actually winning games for his team while Hamlin's doing the right thing, promoting the health thing. But as far as being comeback player of the year, you sat on the sidelines. When my dad came back from the heart attack, he didn't stand on the sidelines. They didn't give him electrician of the year standing over there and not helping them run wire through a crawl space. So that's how I feel about it.
No disagreement from me, my man. Let's move on to the Lions Cowboys. Cowboys -6, total 53.5. Here's my problem with this one, Mike. This is giving the Cowboys like a 5-point home field advantage. Yeah, I mean, but is it wrong? Because that's what the Cowboys do. They bully teams and beat the crap out of them at home, usually. And then they're just terrible on the road. But what I will say is now they're finally playing a winning team on the road. And this is kind of entering the disrespectful territory. Now, I think the Lions are in a terrible spot. They just won the dang division. I was on them last week when that got down to 2.5. I thought that was disrespectful too. But it's at a point where, it was Mullen's fault mostly last week. It's at a point where I don't want to get invested. I was kind of hoping this would be a 3-point spread and maybe I lay with the Cowboys, but I understand it. It's just my shift is going from Cowboys pre this week to now the Lions being that this thing just kind of keeps growing. So I'm off the game, Mike.
Yeah, I am too. Dallas is, everybody talks about how Purdy blew his MVP, although, my God, he's played great football all year long. One game does to me. It was a bad spot for him to screw up. But Prescott did the same thing. Prescott was a couple weeks ago right there knocking on the door, too. It's just an inconsistent year. I don't trust either one of these teams. But Detroit got their mojo back. Congratulations, them. I have a guy that calls my show, Don Burr. He's been around for like 75, 80 years. He's been a Detroit Lion fan. And I tell him, the last time Detroit won a championship, somebody said, you know, it'd be a good idea. What? Maybe someday we put a face mask on the helmets. Bobby Lane in 1956 ran with like my mother's pot on his head. That's how archaic the Detroit Lions last won a championship. And then you know what else somebody said? Somebody said, you know what's a good idea? You know what else is a good idea? Maybe someday what? Well, they got the helmets with the. Maybe we'll put an emblem on the side. They didn't even have emblems on the helmets yet. So it was just like archaic football. So they have a chance to win a championship for the first time. I mean, in the modern era. I was there. I was still alive. I mean, Arnold Palmer was winning the Masters when they won the championship in 56, for God's sake. And 57.
I mean, good for them.
Yeah.
It was bound to freaking happen. You had the Bears and the A's, the Packers since then, and then the Vikings sprinkled every once in a while, did something relevant. It's time for them. I'll be. It's funny. As a Bears fan, I'm not so like anti-team. I used to be, living in Wisconsin for a little while. I was anti-Pack.
I'm not like that.
I'm not like that. I wouldn't mind seeing the Lions, doing something.
I always respected Green Bay. I respected in the 60s and 70s Horning. I respected Lombardi. I respected Starr. I respected those guys. We didn't hate them. I respected them. They kicked our butt all the time. Johnny Unitas, these guys, those road game teams that would come into Wrigley Field, Johnny Unitas, the Packers, Bart Starr, Roger Staubach, I've seen them all.
Yeah.
Those were teams, man. They were juggernauts. They're not like now. Who's going to win this week? Who's going to win this week? Wait, we're not winning this week. Here comes Roger Staubach. Here comes Dan Marino. We didn't beat Dan Marino in 85. The NFL used to be loaded with great teams. Now they're loaded with mediocre.
Well, now they're loaded with a bunch of people that don't care about winning as much, and they do add games. It's just turning more into the NBA, as I kind of mentioned in my last show. It's
for them, the NBA. I got it. Let's play the same day as the NFL. They should have waited till yesterday to play.
Exactly. Niners, Commanders plus 13. It was 13.5. And they announced Jacoby Brissett as a quarterback, and it moved from 13.5 to 13. Now, if Sam Howell was a quarterback, maybe it'd be 14. But now with Brissett in it, I don't like playing the big numbers. Even after such a poor performance, I think some of that's now factored in for the Niners. And I'm not going to buy any over-exaggerated lines here. It's a complete stay away from me. It wouldn't shock me if Washington does cover this game with Brissett, though, and the total's 49.5. Probably.
I had a big week with big numbers. Usually you get beat. Usually if you're getting 13, you're watching the game, then you fall asleep and you wake up to the music of a commercial or something, and you wait for the score, you're losing 33-5. You know what I mean? You go, wow. This week I did what I had the Giants. They just came out and covered. Buffalo, I had the team who played Buffalo. They covered. So I mean, the big point spread's covered, but you're right. Near the end of the season, plus this is like college now. A lot of these teams, and some that are making the playoffs, they're not going to play some of their guys. So you got to be careful.
Are you taking?
I'm not doing anything on this game.
Okay. All right. Yeah, me too. I'm staying away from it. I think there's just too much craziness that happened. Now pressures on Purdy. Yeah, I'm staying away. Cardinals, Eagles. Now I did take the Eagles when it went to single digits, and after that happened, it went back to double digits. Eagles are laying -11. The total is 48 here. The problem with the Eagles is that they like to get out of games. They will just run the clock, and it's like the opposite of the Cowboys. Their numbers don't look as good as what they might be. Yet the Cowboys numbers look too good because they just keep beating on teams. It's kind of like two spectrums in this situation. But man, this Eagles defense is getting healthier. I think Dean's going to come back here. They're signing a few guys. Shaq Leonard had a good game. The reason that the Giants did cover was really a lot of Jalen Hurts screwing up last week, throwing those picks and that crazy fumble.
Well, that's the problem, though. He's got like 20 turnovers, Kev. I mean, you're talking Jalen Hurts here, 20-some turnovers. I don't believe in Philadelphia. Last year, they got in the zone. They kept on going. I don't think they're going to be there at the end. I don't.
Yeah, 11 is too much now. I would have liked it in the single digits. The total's 48.5. I believe it or not, I probably lean to the over here. I'm not going to take it. If it falls down to 47, which is somewhat of a key number, I'd be more interested in the over.
Philadelphia and the over sounds good to me in that one.
There you go, my man.
Yeah, Philadelphia. I like Philly to come back and just Hurts is hearing it, and they got to straighten some things out. Their coach thought he was Vince Lombardi last year, and on the sidelines, and he had all the answers. And now, I mean, they just look like another football team, just like the rest of the league.
Yeah, exactly, my man. Dolphins, Ravens. Ravens now down to -3. Total is 47s. Mike, my biggest play last week was Christmas Day, night game. Ravens plus 5.5. It went to 6. It went 6.5, and I played it again. I was like, how the hell is this even possible? Lamar 19-1 against NFC. Disrespectful line, and the Ravens are seeing it all week long.
Purdy, it never moved. It was 5.5 the whole time last week, right?
Yeah, never moved. 6.5 the day of. Yeah, it went to 6 on like Saturday, Sunday, then 6.5 the day of. But now, I'm taking Miami.
Well, if Miami wins, if Tua has a great game, and if Lamar Jackson has a bad game, is Lamar Jackson out as MVP and Tua's the new MVP? Is that how we're going to play this now?
Exactly. This media overreact. That's why you say buy the dip. You might want to grab Purdy at 13-1 now, because once they destroy the Commanders by 40 points, they're like, oh yeah, it's crazy. So you could literally play this game. I think Josh Allen is a sleeper actually for what
I do too. I think Christian McCaffrey's got a shot. I
took Christian McCaffrey. I got him at 15-1 for Offensive Player of the Year, but I had to get a little bit on MVP because I was worried he's going to win.
He's going to score 25 touchdowns. If they don't have him, folks, he is probably, and I've been watching football for 60 years. If you need an outlet receiver when you're in trouble, that guy's automatic. And he won't gain you 5 yards like most backs. He'll break tackles and gain you 20. And then the guy can run. He can throw. He's going to he got screwed out of the Heisman one year. He should have won it one of the 2 years. They gave it to Fournette. I knew Fournette. He was a straight ahead power runner. Had some moves, but he's no McCaffrey. I knew that back then. But they gave it to him. So McCaffrey, I'd like to see if he got hurt for Frisco, I'd automatically bet against Frisco if they had games left. That's how important that guy is.
The kid is amazing. The coach doesn't. The coach is probably the best coach as well, at least right now. Shannon, but he has had his bad moments. But right now, I think he's done a hell of a lot with this team.
Oh yeah.
Are you playing the Dolphins or the Ravens?
I'm gonna play the Dolphins.
Nice.
I'm with you.
Agreement. It's such a simple handicap. Ravens short week. Ravens letdown spot after beating the number one
MVP for Jackson. MVP.
Yeah. Oh God, it's such a fade spot for the Ravens. It's just, and you know what? All this BS you hear about Dolphins are a Southern team. My ass. I saw them go up to Buffalo with no quarterback when Tua was hurt, and they almost won that game. I saw them earlier this year go to New York on a cold, rainy game. The day after Thanksgiving and just whoop the Jets. They are going to show up for this game. They're also fighting for playoff position.
I agree.
I love the Dolphins here. I got a good number on them. I'd still take them at 3. I think they win outright as well. Plus 142 on the money line. Rams, Giants 4.5, total 43.5. I was looking, I was like, as soon as Tyrod Taylor's announced in, I'll be firing the Giants. And that's what I did. I was on my walk, got the tweet from Adam Schefter. All of a sudden, boom, boom, it's at 6. Now it's down to 4.5. 4.5 now, definitely a much fairer line. But Tyrod Taylor's a real quarterback. All that Tommy DeVito stuff.
Hey, watch yourself. Oh. I'm half Italian, half Irish, Tommy D. Here's what I do. He lived our dream. I mean, are you kidding me? He gets off the third exit, lives with parents, plays for the New York Giants.
He did, but that doesn't make him an NFL quarterback.
Now help me out with something. His dad's mad because he got benched. Okay. I thought I saw Tyrod? What's the kid's name? Tyrod Taylor, right? There was a guy wide open. Didn't he bounce one to him? I thought he bounced last game. There was a pass.
I don't know. I was probably 6 or 7 beers in.
He bounced the guy, blessed path. Then he took him out. He bounced when the guy was white. Look, I'm taking the other way. Everybody's going to have Tyrod Taylor fever like he's Johnny Unitas. I'm going the other way on that one.
All right.
I think the Giants are a bad football team, to be honest with you.
They are a bad football team, but the Rams are kind of getting by with.
You don't want the Rams in the playoffs. Oh, my God.
What everyone's saying. Yeah,
would you rather have Matthew Stafford? I know you like Detroit, but would you rather have Matthew Stafford's a beast, man. That kid's a beast.
This is a bad spot for the Rams. They are coming fat and happy.
Unless you're playing them.
Yeah. Well, no, they're going to the West Coast. Early kickoff here, or the East Coast from the West Coast. That's even tougher than East Coast going west. I like McVay, and I think he deserves all the accolades as he's getting. I think McVay should be a dark horse for Coach of the Year as well. But I just saw
Colonel Sanders get off a bus on TV here, and then I realized it's Matt Brown. Oh my God, we're an old. Jeez. Wow, Matt's been around. Woo.
I'll tell you this: Saquon Barkley looked pretty good last week.
He did.
He certainly did. It's going to be a fun game. I think with Tyrod Taylor, it opens up the game because he has running.
Tyrod Taylor. I got a poster of him in my room. I'm going against him. Everybody got Tyrod Taylor fever, baby.
I'll be texting you on Sunday, my friend. Let's see what happens on this one. 4.5. Well, I'll even take them at 4.5. You take the Rams. It'll be a gentleman's battle.
I'll trust the Rams on this one.
All right, my friend. Let's move to the Patriots. Bills minus 12, total 40.5. Another line that's just kind of overjuiced just on the pure momentum here. The Patriots did a dang good job beating the Broncos last week. And you know what? They almost choked it away. But at the end, they said, all right, we screwed up. We let them back in. Let's beat them. And they beat them. They said, nope, we're stopping you. And
they blamed Russell Wilson in Denver because he's out. He's been benched.
Well, I can't wait to talk about that game.
Yeah.
But
look, Bill Belichick. I'd like to see Belichick come back next year with New England. I can't believe. I don't care if it was Brady, Belichick. You won 6 Super Bowls. Bring them back again. You don't deserve to get knocked out. If you want to come back one more, you're fine. If you want to go somewhere else, take over San Diego and do what Brady did and win in your first year, maybe. That would be sweet to see.
If I was Belichick, I would do that too. But at the same time, yeah, he should not be fired yet.
No,
he's a great coach. Now, was he slightly overrated? Maybe. But I think he's still an Hall of Fame coach.
Still a good coach.
It doesn't make him, still a great coach. I would take the Patriots here. I'm not saying I'm going to do it. The Patriots have it's almost like a spot where they're not making the playoffs anyway. A little bit let down, but it's a division game. They're going to see.
You don't let down with him, with Belichick. You don't let down because he runs that operation. So you're playing for your job because if any team won Super Bowls with fewer star players than New England over the years, I'd like to meet them. Mm-hmm. They didn't have teams that were stacked like San Francisco with 5 superstars on offense: Kittles, Deebo Samuel, McCaffrey, Purdy. My God. You had Randy Moss for a couple of years and people clapped. This guy seriously, he threw to guys you never heard of. Brady. That's what makes him special. He won with different types of players. They won with different types of schemes. I look at the teams now. They got 5, 6, 7 super players on offense like San Francisco. And I never saw Brady with that kind of talent. That's what's been amazing about what he did.
Revenge spot for the Bills. I have this at minus 12, though. It's right on my number. Are you making a play, Mike?
I'm making a play because the Bills didn't cover last week. I think they make a point to put them away, rest some players. You know what I mean? And maybe, it really helps to sit in the fourth quarter if you got a big lead.
Yeah, this don't clinch does this clinch the playoffs for them? I think it is a playoff.
Either way, they were not impressed with themselves last. They didn't play well. And,
no, they did.
And so I think they put them away. They didn't cover last week. They'll cover this week, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think they cover this week and probably get the playoffs because of it. I know Miami's might be for the division though the week after, so that you could definitely see some motivation here. I'm just pulling up the percentages here. It's the Bills
What happened to the
are
coaches in this league? You should wear a suit. Wear a
right,
suit.
right.
That McDaniel
97
guy looks like a bum. Belichick looks like a bum. These guys prowl the sidelines in the NBA. What? I thank God for Patino and Calipari. They're still wearing their jackets.
Yeah.
What happened? Tom Landry with the fedora. Ellis with the fedora. I mean, these guys, the old coach, Norm Van Brocklin looked like one of the Secret Servicemen that covered for Kennedy back in '63. You know what I mean? He had the cigarette in his mouth. He had the suit on. Get the suits back on.
Dress nice, guys. Come on.
Dress nice and dress like slobs. You're the head of an organization.
Oh my God. Well, I'll tell you this: the players have kind of fallen away a little bit of that too.
Oh, you think?
It's definitely not different, and some of them have some corny stuff. Like they'll just have some really corny suits on.
Oh, they like to pick out stuff. They like to pick up stuff because they know that the cameras are going to be waiting for them.
Oh, for sure. I care a little less about the players unless they're dressed like really sloppy.
If you really want to see Clown Town, watch the NBA players when they come into the
arena. Exactly. Yeah. That's a little bit. Yeah, slobby. I don't like that myself. I think the coaches
sloppy. They just dress. I mean, they dress. Look, James Harden and some of these guys, Westbrook. Some of the way they used to. I mean, Westbrook carrying a purse. I mean, it was hilarious.
Yeah, that's a bit much. Let's move on to the Saints Buccaneers. Buccaneers -3 total 42.5. You go first on this one.
I want Baker Mayfield to win. Let's go. They crapped on him. The guy won in Cleveland, folks. When they were the Cleveland Browns, when they were down and out, he made it in the playoffs. This guy's on his fourth team. I'm rooting for Tampa, man. I'm rooting for Tampa. The resurrection of Baker Mayfield, man. Got himself in a good spot. Bo's done a good job. I'm taking Tampa. I think he's in a little bit of his zone. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes like he did before. It's a little bit better organization with him right now. Hard to believe it's happening, but it's true.
I think what else is true is that the Saints players do dislike Derek Carr, and they will they will play because they're professionals. But I also think that their coach, I think they don't like him either. I don't think Dennis Allen's a good coach. I used to rag on Todd Bowles all the time. I think he's better than Dennis Allen. I like the Bucs.
I do too.
I think that there's just too many holes with the Saints. No motivation, no belief, but from the players. I think they're quick to crumble when they're down. So they're one of those teams that will just kind of give it up in the third quarter. I like the Bucs here to cover the 3.
Yep.
Raiders Colts -3.5 now. Total 43.5. I can't believe this move towards the Colts after what the Raiders have been doing. Now, is it a good spot for the Raiders? No, they just want to beat their rival on a short week. But that doesn't make me like the Colts at 3.5, man.
Stay away from me. It's not worth it. Stay away.
Stay away. Antonio Pierce. Yeah. I mean, I was more looking Raiders.
Well, wait, they didn't score no offensive touchdowns
last
week.
That's true.
So, I mean, Antonio Pierce can crow all he wants. I'm glad they won. But, I mean.
He's a defensive guy, though. He's not an offensive guy.
Right. They got to figure that out. But, I mean, you know what? They beat Kansas City. You beat Mahomes. Come on.
All right. Game of the week, Falcons, Bears. Game of the week for me and Mike, maybe, because we get to harp on our Bears the day after. But anyways, Bears are -3. The total is 38 here. A little bit of juice to the Falcons side. Nobody can choke like this Bears team with a lead. You seriously trust them with that? They can be up by 20.
Well, I think what happened, and you described it earlier. You described the games they've blown, and you blamed Getsy. I'm telling you, that was Eberflus. They have headsets on. He's going, play it safe. Sit on the lead. Sit on the lead. Eat up some clock.
Then why was Fields throwing the ball?
Because they're not. Look, when you throw a long pass, that's one thing. You want to loosen up the defense. He throws the ball because they thought that was the best way to do it. Their running attack is great. They have the best running game since they picked up Martell Sweat. They've been unbelievable on that. That was a great pickup. Their defense. I said when they picked up Sweat, it wasn't just about Sweat. It's about making the rest of the line better. And that's what's happened. Their defense is playing well. I like the Bears. I had them last week. I'll have them this week.
I'm teasing the Falcons with the Cleveland Browns.
Who's quarterbacking for them? Because Ritter isn't worth a damn, I don't think.
Well, Heineke's quarterback, and he quarterbacked last week. That's why I don't trust them to cover the 3 necessarily. I can see the Bears win by a touch, but I can see the Bears being up by 10 or 12 or 14 points, and they are in the same freaking position they are every week about possible chance to lose or lose the game. That's the problem. They get a little bit too lethargic in a way, and part of it may be Fields' fault, holding the ball too long and stuff like that. I don't know. You can put the blame on everybody. Sometimes it's not just. Sometimes it's not just one thing. It's like they're all bad. And that's what I say.
I will tell you this. They got a good special teams. They got a good defense right now. Fields will pick his spots. I'm going to take the Bears to win by 10 points in this game. I think Atlanta's a fraud. I think their coach is probably outside of the guy that was in L.A. Smith is one of the worst coaches in the game, and I think he'll be replaced. Talking about guys getting replaced.
One thing the Bears don't do well is cover tight ends, and it wasn't just Njoku. It's been all year. They're like the 4th or 3rd ranked against.
He's good, the guy they got.
And so I think that Falcons do have tight ends, and Johnny Smith and Kyle Pitts that should be able to open up the game for the Falcons enough to cover a teaser leg.
Okay,
3. It's a good number. I think 3 is a pretty good number in this game. Personally,
a lot of 3s this week.
A lot of 3s. Panthers, Jags minus 7, total 38. I played the Panthers, Mike. It's an ugly play. Sometimes you got to hold your nose a little bit in this industry and make those tough bets you don't really want to watch. But in this case, I think it's the right number. Trevor Lawrence, there's something wrong with him. Now his AC joint's bad enough, so he's got a bad ankle, bad AC joint, and a bad head. The dude should not be playing out there. And if CJ Beathard's in, this line drops to 4. The Jaguars are terrible on defense. They're beat up. They have their 2 best receivers out. Zay Jones might be back, but Kirk was better. They have a lot of issues here on Jacksonville. And you know what the Panthers are playing? They're not playing for a draft pick because they have to give it to the Bears. They're playing to not be the worst team in the league. I can see some effort there. They don't want to be the worst. No player, no person wants to finish dead last. And so I can see some effort from Carolina. This spread's too big. I'm taking the Carolina pick.
I covered with Carolina getting 4.5 last week, so they came back and Stroud did well. I'm not Stroud. Young did well, or is it Stroud? I get them mixed up. Stroud.
Stroud wasn't playing for the Texans last week.
That's right. Young.
Young
is. I thought. You know what? He looked like he's starting to come around a little bit. I'd probably take Carolina. They're still playing very, very hard. They're playing hard football. I liked what they did last week. They came back. They were down by 14, and they almost won.
Yeah, Jacksonville is now.
There's the old joke. 2 long-haired blondes involved with the NFL with mediocre talent. Trevor Lawrence and Taylor Swift.
That's a new joke, not an old one.
I'm supposed to wait. Hold on for a minute now. I want the floor, ladies and gentlemen. I'm being told. I'm going to tell you guys something, and I want you to sit down and all listen, okay? I'll give you the people I've seen live, okay, in my lifetime. Sinatra, Elvis Presley, Madonna, Elton John, okay, the Rolling Stones, okay, Cher, all right? I'm supposed to get enamored with Taylor? God bless her for you younger folks, if that's what you want. I sing the greats. And I'm supposed to get enamored. That's my point. God bless her. Who's her competition? I've seen them all. REO Speedwagon, Bachman Turner Overdrive. Some people are going, who the hell are these for? Bachman Turner Overdrive. Come on. And then she comes and she puts that number 87 hat on, and the rest of the team goes to hell.
Well, I hope you listeners out there.
How can they blame that poor girl? My wife went to every one of my sporting events. I never blamed my wife for one loss, ever.
Hope you guys can shake it off for what Mike said right there about Taylor. Let's move on to the next game. The Titans versus the Texans. The Texans are minus 4.5. You're killing me, my friend. Total 43. I took a bad number on this. Normally I'm the right side of these moves, at least 70%.
The Texans screwed me last week. I'm not touching them.
The Titans love doing this. They try for Vrabel. Vrabel's
yeah. They bust their. He's a heck of a coach.
He is. He doesn't have Vrabel, work, but
he's a heck of a coach.
They trade their guys away. They're getting healthier. And Stroud could be a little rusty coming in, but this is a division game still. They're playing for dignity. Vrabel's going to keep him in this game. And to be honest with you, Tannehill's, he's probably better than Will Levis still. Will Levis might be better.
I agree. I agree.
If it's Tannehill, I'm even more happy with it. I took a 3.5. It's at 4.5.
I would too.
I would give it out at 4.5 right now. I think it's.
I love it. I love it. I love Vrabel. I love him as a coach. I don't care. They're always ready to play. They don't have the greatest talent. That guy it's been one of the guys that fell off the Belichick tree that's done well.
Steelers, Seahawks minus 3.5, total 41.5. Mason Rudolph got lucky last week. His receivers were open. It was a big spot for them. I lean the Seahawks. I want to wait to see if this goes down to 3. I think there's going to be some fantasy Steeler money coming in. Now they're going to say Mike Tomlin is a dog. Mike Tomlin only finishes above 8-8, all that. But at the same time, Mason Rudolph is not a good quarterback. I've seen
Pete
for
Carroll's
years.
a better coach than Mike Tomlin, period. I think.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin's been to the Super Bowl once. He had Big Ben. Okay? You had Big Ben. You went once. Okay? There was other good quarterbacks, Brady, but you couldn't get over the hump. You won one, like a lot of coaches, like Brian Billick and other guys. You know what I mean? So, in my opinion, I like Seattle. I'm a Pete Carroll guy. I listen to Big Band. Let me tell you something. You want to get rid of all the protesters? You want to get rid of all the protesters in New York? Put up loudspeakers, okay, and play some Benny Goodman. They'll run for cover.
Man, there's a really funny TikTok or something about that. I'll send it to you.
Let me tell you something. Hey, look, they're all with the signs. They're all marching down Madison Street in New York. They're all of a sudden they hear. I don't care who's marching. Pardon me, boy. Is that the Chattanooga? They're running. They don't want to listen to that crap. Come on.
Michael be out there with a bag of popcorn, my friend.
Oh, big band.
Big band, Mikey. Let's move on to the Bengals Chiefs. Unless you're playing the Seahawks, I don't know if I'm leaving that one.
I would play the Seahawks. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's wait to see if we get a 3. I mean,
couch change at least. I mean, that's just the way it is.
I think a 3 is going to pop for us, my friend. That's what I'm hoping for. Bengals Chiefs minus 7, total 44. I don't know why these Chiefs keep being such big favorites. Now, I know it's the Bengals. The Bengals hate this team. The Bengals are pissed on them. They play hard against the Chiefs. And is it Joe Burrow? No. But the rest of the team remembers them. The rest of the team remembers losing the AFC Championship game. I didn't play the Bengals. I think you're going to get a 7.5. I think you might even get an 8 or better at this game. Everyone's just waiting for the Chiefs to do something. Well, they're not. Matt Nagy's there. So figure that one out yourself.
I'm going to tell you this. The people that think that it's Taylor Swift's fault are wrong. But the people that think that she's not a distraction are wrong too. I come from 85 Bear Country. Okay? Whether you're doing State Farm commercials like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, or whether you're the tight end doing commercials for everything from Viagra to Pfizer, okay? And you're Taylor Swift with the number. These are distractions that take down great football teams eventually, okay? And that's what happened with the Bears after 85. Everybody doing commercials. Mike Ditka, McMahon, Bridge Perry, just it became like who's doing what. Their mind got off the game. And that's what's finally happening, plus a lack of talent. I mean, the one thing I have trouble figuring out is how did they win last year without Tyreek Hill when they need him so badly this year?
Oh, they got 2 gifted flags in the final 2 games on penalties that were happening the whole game, not called holding. And clear, the refs love them. And once Mahomes insulted them this year, can't even freaking win a game.
Good point.
And that's what's been happening to them. I'm staying away from the Chiefs. I'm not even using the teaser leg.
Yeah, this is a no play.
Yeah, I think that if this gets any higher, I'm just going to have to bet the Bengals based on principle. Chargers, Broncos. And now this is so funny. I saw this tweet when I was on my walk, and I'm like, what? They're not starting Russell Wilson? Because I never thought that much of Jarrett Stidham. Apparently, Sean Payton does dislike Russell Wilson. I love the fact he's a former Badger, but he's fell off the watermelon wagon a long time ago. His distraction with Hollywood and Sierra, and
we just talked about it.
It got to his head too, and he's done.
He was one of the greatest competitors. I saw him at NC State. Then he went to Wisconsin, becomes captain of the team in his 4th year, goes to the Rose Bowl. I loved him at Seattle. I'm sad what happened to him as far as him being an all-time great quarterback. He was right around the corner, and then he met that girl, and well, here we go again. I mean, I'm not blaming her. He went Hollywood. I mean, you just saw a difference in him, and I'm happy for the guy if that's what's going to happen. But his career, NFL, not for long. That's what that means if you keep this up.
He made his money.
Yeah.
Don't feel sorry for him.
Oh, yeah.
He made his choice.
And this trade,
but he's cut. He's cut. And they're going to take a couple cap hits for it. Now, it'd be worse if it's after March, but they're smart because you don't know what this dude's going to do, what his agent tells him to do. Maybe that back injury, maybe he overplays that a little bit. You got to take him out before anything. You don't let him practice. You put him on a shelf. You put him in pads or whatever. He's cut. He's going to be cut after the season because nobody's going to trade for him, and they would have to take a massive. The Denver.
Yeah, he just lost it, man.
Salary.
He just.
I don't think anybody wants him. I think he's done, and he used to be better when he was a little bit more of a threat with his legs too, and he's not. He's slow.
I agree.
He's really slowed down.
He's not as elusive. Not as.
But this line going from 6 down to 3. This is getting a little bit too much because the step down from Wilson to Stidham isn't that much. It's a point maybe. So now I'm starting to look towards Denver a little bit in this situation.
I would too.
I don't think Stick's that good. I know they kind of fraudulently covered that.
How many quarterbacks are good? You got nothing but backup quarterbacks. It's more of a college quarterback league now. The days of Elway, the days of Marino, the days of the pocket passer, the Brady's. These guys are the minority now. It's about the running quarterback. And by the way, people say, well, running quarterback can get hurt. A lot of your quarterbacks, including Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, that can roll and do things, they've been hurt inside the pocket this year. So if you're a pocket quarterback, you can get hurt as easily as running with the ball. So it's just a bad quarterback league. The totals right now, Kev,
it's a bad league because they only call defensive holding and defensive contact 10% of the time. The NFL thinks they're protecting quarterbacks with the rule, yet they don't call the most important thing to put points on the board. You protect the quarterback. This is one of the lowest scoring years we've ever seen. It's because you're letting them do the same stuff when Tampa Bay and the Ravens were winning in the late 90s, early 2000s. They're holding the whole time. Yeah. It's like you call that so the defense stops it. Not only will quarterback get rid of the ball first and get hit last, you're going to score more points. Everybody's happy. But for some reason, this set of officials do not call that. And that's why you're seeing all these injuries and terrible quarterback play in this. In
the worst I've seen in 20 years.
Worst I've seen in a very long time myself, my friend. So good stuff. I'm going to lean to the Broncos. I'm going to keep watching this a little bit more. I think it might go back up to 3.5, but this could be your window. Sean Payton's just a good coach, and the Chargers now, they kind of got back after that disgusting Raiders defeat by covering the spread. They're toast this year. I kind of like the Broncos here with a new. I think the teams are going to be fired up too. Packers Vikes minus 1.5, total 46. This is the last game. What do you got? I'm gonna let you go first on this one.
I'm gonna go Minnesota. I'm not a Jordan Love guy. I think that Green Bay is hit or miss. LaFleur is a good coach. I'm not taking nothing away, but I'm going to go with the other guys.
I'm going Minnesota too. It's a lower confidence because Vikings pushed T.J. Hawkinson and DJ Wonnum, one of their offensive linebackers, on IR. It's a little banged up, but they did get Jefferson back. Looks like Addison should play this game. I like Ty Chandler. I think he's better than their other running back there in Alexander Madison. Nick Mullins, not a great quarterback, but at the same time, neither is Jordan.
Played okay last week.
Yeah, he did okay. I don't think Jordan Love is a starting quarterback.
I'm just telling you, man. I'm not a big fan.
And Jari Alexander, now he's suspended for the game for some boneheaded thing he did last week by going to by pretending he's a captain and deferring or doing whatever he did. I don't understand what that was all about. Now He's their top guy and he's suspended. It's like
I didn't hear
seriously,
that one. It's great.
It's funny, and they can make the playoffs, and they just suspended their top guy. Yeah, look it up, man. It just came out like probably half an hour before we.
Yeah,
got
I
on
didn't hear it.
Oh my god, it is comical. It's almost like he almost say we're gonna be on defense for both halves. He almost did. You read about it, but yeah, it's a little short. I think the Vikings win this game. I think the Vikings defense is better than it has been. I think the Packers defense is absolutely atrocious, and I don't like Love on the road. You know, it's a good situation here. Yep, let's take the Vikings, my friend. But that's all we have, Mike. And man, me and you always talk a long time, but I love it because go take a nap after this. No, where can you have the best shows out there? Where can our listeners find?
Well, we got the odds couple. It's on your podcast at AM 1000 app or AM Chicago app, ESPN 1000, ESPN Chicago, and then Saturday morning I'm on live. In Chicago, 8 to 9 with Carmen DeFalco. And then I do a show, and I'll be on tomorrow at 10 o'clock called the Mike North Presser, which is on right here at North to North, and RTH number 2 on RTH, in which I take all the questions. We talk Bear football for you Chicago Bear fans from around the country, man.
That is. Mike's the best out there. Mike,
thank you, buddy.
Thank you so much again for coming on.
Appreciate
I hope you and your family have a wonderful new year and a happy holiday season.
You too. Go with some money, you rascal.
Go Bears.
I love the old Soldier Field behind you. The Flintstones meet the Jetsons.